secret to happiness is to align with your soul's wisdom, but daily life often gets in the way. To keep you on your path, join Linda Manning, transformational coach and healer, for spiritual inspiration and interviews with amazing healers and teachers. If you are eager to connect with your soul, excited to travel on inner adventures, and are curious to learn from cutting-edge teachers, then this is the podcast for you.
Welcome back, listeners, or welcome for the first time if you are new to the Trust Your Wisdom podcast. Hooray! This is Linda Manning, and I'm here to inspire you no matter what crazy stuff is going on in your life. So, are you ready to be inspired and trust your wisdom? Not yet? Well, that's okay, because today's episode is here to help. Before we go on, I just want to say that if you're having a great day, and I hope that you are, this should make it even better. And if you're having a tough time or just a blah time, well, I've got you. So I am embedding this podcast with a high vibration energy to lift up everyone who's listening. So take a moment. I'm going to take in a deep breath. Taking a deep breath too, and just align. Align yourself to the guidance, to the wisdom. Imagine that this beautiful silver light is coming through this podcast from the divine, and it is here to support you and raise you up for the day. Okay. So my goal, my vision for this podcast is to help raise up the vibration of all the listeners and really anyone who needs it, so that they can be their very best. So with that in mind, it is time for a song break. The news outside is frightful, but my inner thoughts are delightful, because I deeply know to let it go, let it go, let it go. Listeners, I hope you enjoy my little song breaks, because I really enjoy singing, and I know that I am not the greatest talent, but I'm not going to let that stop me. And that one came to me as I was thinking about this podcast. So let it go, let it go, let it go. What does that mean? So there's really 3 themes to this very short song. The first one is, how do we handle it when the news is so frightful? Whether it's climate change or politics or bad vibes in your family, it can be really hard to read or listen to what's going on in the outside world. How do we stay aligned to our source of wisdom and to our inspiration? And then the second thing is, can our inner thoughts be delightful regardless of what's happening on the outside? It's a great question, right? And then the third theme is, can I really let go of what isn't serving me? So let's start with theme 1. How do we handle the news when it's so frightful? Well, I'm of the belief that we do want to feel our feelings. So we don't want to just shove our feelings aside or sweep them under the rug. Even though we are spirits, and from that place we are always in joy and love and this high vibration, we are here as having a human experience. So we get to feel all those feelings, the good feelings, the bad feelings, all 88 keys on the piano, as Mama Gina says. So it's important to recognize them. If the news is upsetting, then, we can identify, wow, that feels really out of alignment with my vision for the world. See, that's what is frightful or upsetting to us about the news, is that it worries us when there's a gap between our vision for the world and what is. So just notice that that is the source of those bad feelings. And there's a lot that we can do when we recognize that gap. One of the things we can do is really send energy towards our vision. So imagine that your vision is a world of peace, a world where people can collaborate and get along together. And what you're seeing is not that. So you can focus on the not that, on the fact that there isn't peace right now, and that feels really pretty crappy. Or you can go, wow, here's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing that there doesn't seem to be peace, that doesn't align with my vision, but I would rather focus on my vision. And so maybe you take a few moments and get peace within yourself and send peace out to the world. So just realize that those frightful moments are identifying for you a gap between the vision that you have and how you're feeling in that moment. Because if your vision for the world is peace, but you're feeling really unhappy because of the news, then you're not at peace. You're not living your own vision. So when we return to vision, breathe into that and really align with how we want to see the world or see our lives or see ourselves. When we return to vision, it actually helps release a lot of that negativity and helps us refocus on exactly the qualities that we want in the world. So just think for a moment for yourself, like something that's happened recently, again, maybe something on the news or something in your family where it just didn't feel like it was lined up with what you wanted. And breathe into that and go, oh, that's what's happening. And now let me look at what it is that I do want. I would love for people to be healthy. Okay, then let me breathe in health for myself. Am I doing the things to make myself healthy? I think I'll have a glass of water as we're talking. Since I'm speaking of health, I'm like, ooh, I haven't had enough water today. So, am I taking care of my health? Am I sending positive, healthy vibes out to the world? Am I doing whatever I can? And just know that there's, sickness is a part of being in the human condition. It's part of being in this physical body. Of course, this is easier said than done, but I don't think that death is always the most terrible thing. It's just a part of our whole human experience. It's very sad for the people who are left, but it's something that we also get to accept. And being in this human form means that our bodies are susceptible to illness. So it's important to really look at how can I take care of my health, if health is something that's coming up for you. All right, so those are some things to think about around frightful. Use those moments to notice what's in the gap between the world and your vision and refocus on your vision and what it is that you want to create. Love, peace, health, joy, collaboration, whatever it is. Okay, so that really brings us easily to, can our inner thoughts be delightful regardless of what's happening on the outside? And of course the answer is yes, they can be. Because we can't control everything that's out there. In fact, I don't know if we can control anything that's out there, but we can control, to a certain extent anyway, to the best of our abilities, what's going on in the inside. So, as always, I'm going to share a real story, something that's been going on for me real time currently. So, my eldest child told me last week that they have been lying to me for months about how things were going in college. And that one of my things that I'd said was that they couldn't go back to college unless they promised to go get academic support. And so they had been telling me that they were getting academic support and they weren't. So that has been a bit of a tough thing, right? Because I felt some anger. I felt ashamed. Actually, as I really dove into it, I was like, whoa, that's so interesting. Why am I ashamed? Because in case we haven't mentioned this before, shame is a very low vibration feeling. It's not a good one. And I thought, well, because I thought we had a good relationship. I thought that they could trust me. And so why aren't they telling me the truth? I'm worried, sad, angry, back to worried, right? And if you're a parent, you can probably understand this, or maybe you've had this or a similar experience. So those were my initial feelings. And I, again, let myself feel those. And I say, okay, what's in the gap? The gap is I have this vision for my child, and what's happening is not really in alignment with that vision, but I don't know if that vision is correct for them. And I don't know that what they're going to learn or gain from whatever the next stage is isn't going to be even better than what I had imagined. So what if I let go of needing to control what happens to them and trust that they have their own divine guidance, which of course is what I say to everyone, right? You've got so many guides around you helping you. So, so even though that wasn't what I wanted, that wasn't how I wanted things to be, and I got to feel my feelings, but then I also get to let them go. And really notice that, a different mother would have reacted differently. So if I'm having those particular feelings, I get to look inside myself at why I'm having those and not put them on my child to say they caused it, but to say, why, where is that coming up for me? Why do I feel shame or sadness or worry? And, trust your wisdom. My word of the year for 2021 was trust. So here I get to be tested. Can I trust that they are on the path that they need to be on? So that's what I'm working on right now, working on trust, as always. So, when we have these responses, it's easy to react. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say it's the other person. And instead, where I choose to go with it is to look at, well, why am I having that reaction? And what's a belief that I might be holding? And what's a different belief that would actually make my experience more positive? Do I believe that college is the only way to succeed? Well, it certainly isn't. There's plenty of people who are successful without that. And do I believe that this is in alignment with their soul's purpose? Well, maybe. So you can see, listeners, that I have options for how to interpret this event. And so do you. No matter what is going on in your life, good, bad, crazy, indifferent, whatever, you always have options. There are always different ways to interpret the same situation. But sometimes it's really hard to do this on our own. We often need another person's perspective to get out of our own way, our own thinking. So, all right, let's look at the third one about letting it go. And that's really about, how do I release any of these feelings that are lodged in my body, that are holding me back? Me being the inner growth junkie that I am, and I want to grow from every situation. So anything that I judge somebody else for, I get to look for in myself. So I'm judging my child for not being honest. I got to look, where am I not being honest in my life? And I found some places, like some things that are pretty small, but it's real. Like sometimes I pretend that I'm paying attention at a meeting, but I'm actually playing a game on my phone. And I know that that's not exactly like, burning down a building, but it is a form of lying or putting up a false front, just like my child was doing. So how am I out of integrity? And can I make peace with that part of me? Can I love that part of me? Can I understand how that part of me, what that part of me is doing, why they're doing it, and really own and love it? Because as long as I'm judging myself, it's very easy to judge other people. And so one of the ways to let things go is to actually own those responses within us. Anything we're judging someone else for doing, look within, and then find the loving aspect of that self. Learn and grow from it. Now, there are some different techniques that I have learned to help let go. And one of them is the emotional freedom technique, and you may have heard of that, EFT, or the emotion code. Both of these are really great ways to release emotional blocks. If you want to hear more, reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to you some more about those. But I want to share with you right now a super simple technique that I learned in the book called It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver, one of my all-time favorite books, a must-read. It's called It's Not Your Money by Tosha Silver. So many gems of wisdom in that. And that is to create a God box or a divine box or whatever word you want to use it, a let go box. And it can be, honestly, it could be like an old shoe box or It doesn't matter what it is. You can make it beautiful and fancy, or it can be something crappy. It doesn't matter. But it is a box where you put in any of your worries, any of your concerns, any of your hopes, any of your longings, any of your fears. You write it down and you put it in that box. And whenever you feel a burden or a worry, you write it down, stick it in the box, and offer it over to God. And say, okay, God, I can't handle this. I don't know what I'm doing, but you do. I'm offering this to you. And if you still feel anxious, just remember that God has this. And you don't need to own it anymore. So with my child, I can put their whole education, their future, I put that future into my God box. Let it be taken care of. Obviously, that doesn't mean I'm going to disengage, but I am disengaging from the worry. Because that's not going to help. It's not going to magically make things better. And it's only going to make the world or my situation more frightful instead of delightful. I'm choosing delightful. And so I'm letting it go, and I'm letting it really be taken care of by the divine. So listeners, take a moment right now and just think, is there some worry or fear or shame or burden that you would love to get rid of? In real life or in your imagination, write it down. Like if you have paper and pencil, write it down right now. But if you don't, just use your imagination. Imagine writing it down and putting it in a box or giving it over to the divine. And really imagine that you aren't alone. You don't have to solve it all yourself. There's support for you. And letting it go and letting yourself be supported. And how does that feel? Do you feel lighter and freer? And just remember that if we want our inner thoughts to be delightful, we can bring in divine light, divine love, amp it up even more. So right in this moment, pick a color. It could be silver like we did earlier. You can pick the whole rainbow if you want. Because this is a very generous universe. There's more than enough of everything for us. And take some slow, deep breaths. And just imagine those colors are filling you up. If more worries or negative feelings come up, that's okay. Keep turning them over, letting them go, writing them down, giving them to God, giving them to Source. And if you want to learn and grow from them further, explore them more later. Dive deep into understanding the why behind those feelings, and then let it go. All right, well, we are almost at the end of the year. I'm going to be posting this in 2021. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you to all the listeners who listen to one or all of the podcast. This has been such a great, fun adventure for me. It was one of my dreams, one of my goals was to create a podcast, and I did it. So I feel really good about that. And I love my guests, and I have some other great guests coming up. I've already got my next guest recorded, and I've got the one after that scheduled. And so I hope you find those really valuable. I am going to be doing a free evening of channeling. We're going to channel divine messages and give individual messages as well as group messages. And I would love to have you come. So I'm going to, in the notes, I'm going to put the link so you can sign up. And it's going to be beautiful and powerful. It's January 6th at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. And it would be wonderful to have some listeners there. And you'll get some time. It'll be on Zoom and we'll get to see each other. So thank you so much for listening, for being a part of this community. And I wish you an amazing new year and a wonderful, peaceful, joyful, delightful time.
Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to leave a review and share this podcast. To learn more or to book a personal session with Linda, go to innerclarity.biz or click the link in the show notes. And may you always trust